Good afternoon, YouTube. Starting off on a bike ride today. We're on the Highway 237 bikeway. We are headed up this direction. And the ride today, we're going to start up at the north end of the ridge there. Ride all the way along there, past all the broadcast towers. This is called Mission Peak, the first hump on the ridge. The middle one is called Mount Allison, and then you've got Monument Peak, that's the last one with the tower. I haven't done this ride probably in 3 or 4 years, I think. Last time I did it, it was really muddy up there, especially coming down the hill. There was just like a mile or two of mud. So I'm also going to be looking for some old stone walls that are up on the top of the ridge. I've seen them on videos and TV programs, but I've never seen them in person. So we're going to try to find those too. Point of interest, this right here, this is called the Los Esteros gas turbine generating station. So this is like a 300 megawatt gas turbine power plant. And you can see the big substation they have there. And Microsoft's going to be building a huge data center just on the other side of that station. This is normally how it is. You don't even hear this thing running. This is mainly like a peaking plant. Last summer, while we had the rolling blackouts and the heavy smoke from the forest fires, you could hear this thing from 5 miles away. It was just screaming. I mean, it sounded like you were standing at the end of a runway at the international airport. It was just unbearably loud because they were running this thing flat out. But normally you hardly hear this thing running. It's during the day, so they're probably getting a lot of solar and the wind is blowing. So there's probably ample renewables. So this thing is just sitting at idle probably. So when I built this bike up, I built it to be able to ride on the road, because I have to do, I think it's about 25 miles of pavement to and from the ridge. So I wanted something that would be decent on pavement, but then I wanted the disc brakes because you're descending 25 and 30% grades coming down off the ridge. And then I needed the really low gearing because you're also going up 25% grades going up the ridge. That's what this bike was built for. And I can see this ridge right out of my driveway. Like when I'm working during the day, I look up and see this thing, and I was just drooling over being able to go up here while I was waiting for my bike frame to show up, because that took a couple of months from when I ordered it until it arrived. And every day I would look at this and go, oh, I want to get up there. So let's shut this off, and I'll kick it back on probably when we get up onto the side of the ridge there. Okay, YouTube, we came from that direction. It's about 10 miles up to here. This is the start of the trail at Ohlone College. You can see the trail goes up here, and then it just cuts along there under those cliffs. And then at some point it cuts back to the left and goes off behind the peak. There's kind of a valley back there. Follows the road up, and then you end up on top of the ridge. So this first part is pretty grueling up here, and if it's a hot sunny day, you would just bake up there. You've got those white chalky cliffs right next to the road, and it just reflects the heat on you and you just burn up. I think there's one little spot of shade up there in those trees. So maybe I'll come back when I get up on the ridge a ways and we can take a look at the view. Okay, YouTube, we made it up to the ridge here. There's the peak right up there. There's the rock walls. See, they came down the ridge line there and just stacked up rocks. There are apparently dozens of miles of these, maybe even like 100 miles or so of these linear rock walls on these ridges up here. And they have all sorts of theories that the Chinese sailed over in the 1200, 1300 and built these. But I think the most logical explanation is these were built by Basque shepherds, maybe in the 1700s, early 1800s, just to keep their sheep and cows or whatever they were grazing up here. They graze cattle up here now, but these were probably just piled up while the guys were watching their flock during the day. That's probably Mount San Bruno, way up in the distance. And then you've got the peninsula, there's the Dumbarton Bridge. Farther up is the San Mateo Bridge. And then you've got the south end of the bay. Down in here is Fremont, and then Milpitas. Getting a little bit cloudy today too. It's a little cold, and I think I'm running out of daylight. It's about 5 o'clock, and I am not going to have time to make it around Mission Peak, and then you have to go up to Allison, and then over to Monument, and then you have to drop down. And so I think I'm going to just take the road down here, go out the Stanford entrance. Kind of in the middle of the frame is the parking lot. Big green meadow, and that's the parking lot, and then you run out and around over the freeway and back down the Coyote Creek Bikeway. So I think I'm going to do that and then come back and try this another time. Yeah, I haven't been up here for a few years, and the hills here are just a whole different rhythm than the hills on the other side of the valley. They're steeper and longer. Like the first mile down here, you climb 800 feet, so that averages 16%, and it's just straight up the whole way. There's no break, so it's just really long, grueling uphills, and I'm just not used to that, because over here you've got steep hills, but they're short. You kind of go up steep, and then they flatten out, and then they go up steep again. Where here it's just up the whole way. Now, thinking back to the last time I was over here, it was like, yeah, this is way different riding. And then the other problem was on the gravel road on the other side of the hill here, they had just graveled the road, and there was about a half mile I had to walk up. The gravel was so deep and soft that I was spinning out. Anyway, nice view there. So I'm headed back that way. About 20 miles of riding, and I got about 2.5 hours of daylight, so I better get going here. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that ride and video. If you have any questions or comments, post up in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.